The Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m. and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells. I'm Mel. That is Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we like. And today we are also joined potentially by Miley. So if she has some over Sam's shoulder there, so be patient if she has some issues. Nikki's babysitting.
Yes.
It's
sorry
family time of year, so it's
yes, it was that that's why part of why we were on a few minutes late is because we were getting ready to my neighbor's dog escaped and was running down the street and then heard the owner yelling and thought it was my cat is inside and I thought I heard the cat and I was like, Miley and Roman, they're doing better, but sometimes they don't get along so well and it's just me because Nikki is pet sitting for our aunt at the moment. But Miley heard me shut my door and wanted to know what was happening. But generally, she doesn't like when I'm talking into a microphone. So we'll see how long she lasts. But for now, she's here. So we'll see.
But she might like you guys. And remember, again, that we're kind of on a shorter schedule because Sam's still on the mend and we want to make sure her voice stays strong and healthy. So... especially if you guys have questions and stuff, I know this is going to be a show that you might have a lot to talk about. So go easy on her and you go easy on yourself, or else I'm going to become that naggy mom person that I have just living inside of me that I've always had.
And I was going to say we've got two shows in 6 days this week because we have the pre show on Saturday, and then we have something else coming during the week that you will see. I don't know if we're allowed to say.
That's a great point. I don't know if
we're allowed to say. Not. I will say stay tuned to this network if you are not already subscribed to the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. There's a show that is coming on this week and you might see some familiar faces on there. So I'll just tell you that. And then if we are allowed to tell you, we'll definitely post it on our social medias, or you can just keep an eye out and see if we pop up.
Exactly.
And then
I think you can probably if you fantasy book it in your own mind, you can understand that there's so many shows. We've got World's End coming next weekend, so we'll be on Saturday. Right. But then it's just, and then John put it perfectly. He's like, no, I'm getting ready for the wrestling smorgasbord too. It's
true.
World's End, Wrestle Dynasty, Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty.
Then there's
a bunch of little shows.
Fight for the Fallen on January 1st, which is in Asheville, which unfortunately I will not be attending, which I wish I was. However, I will be at Collision, which will be the first live Collision of the year, be the first live Collision in 2 weeks. So it'll be on the 4th, and it's Collision / ROH. So Nikki and I will be in attendance for that.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
And last night they were like, in 2 weeks, I was covering Collision last night, and they were like, in 2 weeks we'll be in Charlotte. And I was like, 2 weeks. It's like, what do you mean?
Fast. Right. I forgot that they were coming back to see you guys. That's I'm living vicariously from you.
Yeah, that's become the first Saturday in January has become, I guess they've just permanently booked in Charlotte because the last 3 years that's where they've come in. I think the last 3 years. I think this one will make 3 years in a row that they've come the first Saturday, which is funny because as much as I love Collision and ROH, Rampage is the only show that I have not been to live. I've been to Dynamite, Collision, ROH, couple pay-per-views, never been to Rampage.
Weird.
Because it was before. Yeah, because I was like, obviously Rampage wasn't around, the first couple times they came through, and then their Dynamites have worked out where they film, they record separately. So we just haven't.
The two Dynamites we had in Detroit were the triple actually, because we had some ROH tapings because it was when they were doing some ROH tapings, Rampage, so it was some ROH, Dynamite, Rampage.
Right.
And we had
And
the first Blood and Guts here. I
we
mean,
got some, yeah, we've gotten, and we of course got some Dark and Elevations. We got Nikki and I were actually at Dark 100. We were at that show. Got to see all the stuff, which was cool because we were weekly watchers of Dark and Elevation. So we got to be but yeah, out of all and the Rampage is going away. So I keep forgetting next week is I guess next Friday is the final Rampage ever, unless they resurrect it down the road. But
that's right, because the January 1st show is the first test of the Cinemax. Yeah. I'm always gonna be one of those people, because it's been with me my entire life as Cinemax and HBO, is that I'm gonna always, because I know that the business side of it, I'm always gonna sort of like inadvertently call them Cinemax or HBO or whatever.
I still flip and call it HBO, but I've tried to get better at calling it Max. But yeah, Max. I still, most of the time I say HBO, especially if I'm like talking to my mom, because she's like, she doesn't remember. I'm like, HBO. Or I say the full HBO Max. So that's generally how it comes out. And so
yeah, it's going to be a rough one for me. I mean, Paramount has like eaten Showtime, and I'll still be like, oh, that's the Showtime channel. Like that.
Right.
It's like,
yeah,
I'm sorry that you guys have done mergers and acquisitions and stuff.
Right. When you eventually break back up,
years of my life, it was HBO.
When you eventually break back up, then it'll work out for me, because it's just like when they try to change Chad Gable's name, and I refuse to call him anything but Chad Gable, and he eventually came back and he's Chad Gable now. and that
blight on the universe never happened.
Right, exactly. And I don't know who Dewdrop is. She's always been Piper Niven to me, or Viper for that matter.
It took me forever when I was listening to some of the Observer radios, because I was like, they keep referring to this Dewdrop, and I probably, if I looked it up, I would even know. And sure enough, I was like, oh dear God, that's the name.
Yeah,
that's why I stopped doing that. I was like, if I don't know naturally, I don't want to know.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Because I'm like that. I think that the joke of making up WWE names for wrestlers ourselves will never get old, because they're so bad that it's almost like 50-50. One of us could get it right in one of our jokey things where it's like, wow, you were close or right on.
Right. Yes.
It's
yes. I'm gonna come over to the comments for just a second. Nikki, I think, is watching, but she's watching from her phone, which does not give her the ability to comment. So hello, Nikki, if you are watching. But Brad is here in the comments, and he says that he's here and welcome back. Thank you for that, and we're glad to see you back in the chat. And yes, Miley versus Sans Mike for feud of 2025. That could definitely see that happening. I think she's coming for that.
I think she'll like our community enough.
That's true. We are dog lovers in this community. That's what we were talking about before we went live. That generally, I think a good chunk of us have dogs that are.
We have a pet channel in the Discord,
and we have people who sometimes their pets make appearances. There's also cat lovers here on this network. So, and I have one of each, and so
they made. And I'm pretty sure it was Garrett or Jeremy. I'm almost certain they made a babies, pets, and that sort of thing. But it's babies and pets basically channel for us to talk about that and post our adorable dog. And
I love it,
because and it's like a happy channel, because it's people you like, and it's their little guys or their doggos or their kitties, and it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I mean, I don't hate cats or anything. Bob's allergic to cats. We had cats for a long time, especially orange tabbies have been most of my cats. But I have friends that, like, my friend Kelly has an orange tabby named Carl, and he's like practically a mascot. Like, everybody wants to know what Carl's doing.
That's great.
He's become like a point of interest for all of us. And she'll post something on socials, and we're all like, Carl.
So that's great.
I mean, it's even better when it's your friends, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you need on the internet, because to lighten up the mood during the week.
Absolutely, for sure.
Thankfully, our Discord has a few channels like that. It's not all you've got your hardcore wrestling, but we've also got travel and cute things and nerdy stuff. It's fun.
Yeah,
what a great crew.
I want to see. I don't think you can see this, but I was like, I'm gonna drop this down so you can see my festive little panda sweater that I have. I've been wearing that. I've been wearing this shirt for, I can't remember how many. I've had it for at least 5. God, probably more than that. And then Mel was saying, she was talking about, she complimented my hat, which I appreciate. I've had this hat forever, and I thought I had worn it on the show before, but then I was like, wait, no, last year, I think I wore the green and white hat that came with another outfit, but matches this perfectly. But I was like, maybe I haven't worn this yet. Maybe this, I've had this forever. Actually, it was when my day job, I have one of those. That has nothing to do with wrestling. I was we back in the day, because he's based on the West Coast, and back in the day, he used to do West Coast meetings with those staff, and then East Coast meetings, and then eventually we had one where we all flew out west, and then ended up we stopped after that, and but whatever. So when he was in New York, and a couple of my coworkers, we went up to visit, or we went up for our meetings and stuff like that. This is how I ended up with that hat. And so there's pictures of me in a nice fancy dress wearing this hat.
That's awesome.
And we were in a nice fancy restaurant that I could never afford in my life. And I have this hat on.
I love that.
At least in one of the pictures. Yeah. They got, our boss was like, here, and they brought them to us. So we have them. We were wearing them. So
I love it. But that's so cool. Those are way better. Like, everybody's got the standard. Like, it's way more fun to be the person. As some the person that tends to be the person wearing the hat in those pictures, right. I have no problem with that. I find that it's way more fun. People take life too seriously. Like, you in a fancy dress and that hat, it sounds like the greatest picture ever in my world.
I have to see if I can find it and send it to you.
I've got it. So
I've got it somewhere.
Because it's so fun. Like, that's just, especially in those settings, because you're like, you never know. And that's so lifey. That's way more natural. Like, you're a very organic person. You didn't need to be in yourself. I'm wearing this hat and this beautiful gown and
this super fancy restaurant. And these people are probably like, why are they wearing these hats? Because
that's the best part. It's the wondering.
Why aren't you wearing a festive hat?
Yeah. That the question isn't why am I wearing a hat? It's why aren't you wearing a hat?
Exactly.
Because I had to get in on fun, maybe. Okay, I'm just saying. Like, some people don't like fun, and that they're entitled to that. But okay. That doesn't fly around here. We're big supporters of fun.
Yes.
So,
definitely make sure that you also. I meant to mention this on the show last week. While you are here subscribing to Fight Game Media, please go subscribe to our friend Ashe Wrestling on YouTube, because starting in January, they are going to start weekly episodic shows on Thursday nights.
Nice.
And they will be airing 2 matches from every single show that they have had. And I believe let me double check that date. I believe the first show is set for January the 9th, which is the first Thursday of the year, if I am correct about that. Hang on. And they are showing 2 really incredible matches, because it's from the very first show. And it is, January the 9th. They will be showing these free shows, and they'll show 2 matches per episode and a musical performance, because they start every show with music from usually somebody that's local, which is really cool. And so the first episode, the very first match that you will see is going to be Kevin Knight versus Jossie, which was the very first match Ashe ever put on, was this match. And it's incredible from what I remember. I can't wait to watch it again. And then the second show you're getting is the main event from the very first show, which is Trisha Dora versus Aja freaking Kong. Yes.
She's coming back?
Oh no, that's what will be in that episode. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. So those will be
okay.
Yeah,
so they're going to show that stuff so they can set you up so that you understand the storyline, because they do have, like we talked about with them, there is a storyline in Ashe. This is awesome. CCW got if I could drive, dude, I would be going every Thursday night. They're literally in the town next door to me.
Oh wow!
At the at the New Baltimore Trade Center, and we might be we're coming up in the new year, we're going to be continuing to talk to them and Ashe anytime they want to come around. But CCW started doing the same thing because they have this stable space now. They went back to doing weekly YouTube shows as well. So both of those channels, and that one is just, I think they're CCW. They're whatever.
Yes, and then I'm not sure if people have seen it. I posted it on my social media, and then I have retweeted it from Ashe. But Ashe is part of WrestleMania this year. They are going for Mania weekend.
The culture.
Yep, they will be
for the culture.
They will be. No, they're doing their own show.
Nice.
Ashe will be doing their own show on the Thursday weekend. On the Thursday show. I don't know if they've announced, the Thursday, because the stuff what used to be called More Than Mania, but the stuff around Mania starts on Thursday, and Ashe will have a show that Thursday. So if you are going to Vegas for Mania or for the indie shows, please try to fit in your schedule. Go support Ashe because they are phenomenal.
The only other show that day is Bloodsport usually, so that's a great day for them to pick.
Sometimes there's like a DDT Pro show sometimes in there, but I don't know if they've announced the time yet, so just keep an eye on that. But if you're going to be in Vegas for that, if you are able to, please go check them out and go support them.
And go subscribe. I've got their website up because I don't have their channel in our banners right now, but that's okay. If you go to their website, it's right there.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Right on there. And we'll retweet it for you guys for we'll retweet both channels so you can follow everybody's.
Yes. Actually, I just quote because I was already on there to double check that date. I actually just quote tweeted it. So if you go to our Twitter, it's right there for you. And there's a link right there where you can subscribe to their channel and you can follow them right there on Twitter. They have not made it over to Blue Sky yet, but I've been posting about them on Blue Sky. Shug is over there. Shug D is over there. I think there might be a couple other wrestlers from that are associated with Ashe. I know Chris Lee is there, who's been on our show before, and Chris is the commentator for Ashe. He's over there as well. So definitely give them a follow, but you'll be hearing me talking about that a bunch more. And hopefully we can get Darius back over here since it's been 1 year of Ashe, and get maybe some other talent over here throughout the year. And I think Mel's going to try to get some stuff from her people over here too. So we're going to work on doing that. In the new year, we're going to see what we can. In the new year, we're going to see what we can. We always love doing interviews, and we haven't done them in a while. So hopefully we can
support the indies. It's the biggest thing. These are both of Sam and I both had a big hole after the post-pandemic in our lives because our promotions kind of went away and got bought up or whatever. So these are kind of the places that we're really trying to support. And they're doing really well. I mean, they've coordinated with CCW's a couple wrestlers now signed to WWE ID contracts. So
wow, that's pretty cool.
I'm very interested in hearing about how that works for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I mean, it's great because not the brewery, but the local business, one of the other local businesses, they're called Green Time. They make all kinds of, you would love them. They make like hand soaps and all, but she makes it all from scratch. And she's amazing. Like she can do it. And she made like a truckload of kettle corn for the Richmond show to sell for the charity. I mean, so you'd love, it's called Green Time, THYME.
Yes, that sounds right up my alley.
It's you and Nikki would love it. She does like workshops and stuff too. They're like candle making. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this place is made for my friends. They need to come visit me.
Yes, it's true.
We'll visit each other someday.
Yes.
One of these days when I win the lottery, once I start playing. Okay.
There you go.
Oops. Just that little glitch.
Just that little glitch. We'll get
all right. You want to get to the
yes, we can. And this is a comment from Brad.
We did have one. We weren't ignoring you, Brad.
I was saving it for this perfect segue because Brad said
you read our mind, Brad.
that Friday made the first TK era ROH for him, so he's just missing Collision. Which, if Collision comes to you, you should go because Collision's a lot of fun.
I enjoyed Collision in Toronto. I was glad that we made the extra effort we were tired, but it was worth the extra effort.
I hope that Brad, whenever you get a second, let us know what you thought of the show, what it was like being in Hammerstein, how Kathy felt about. I'm sure was not happy about the end result.
We almost
But I
need like
hope,
a Kathy blog update thing. It's
regardless,
like how Kathy
I
felt.
hope she had a really good time because that
Me
show was
too.
awesome. I do have to go back. So typically I'm on SmackDown coverage, but when I had I had started a few minutes late because I had to go grab dinner, and then when I turned, I had watched the pre-show, so I missed the last match of the pre-show, and then I turned on. By the time I got back and turned Final Battle on, my plan was to watch Final Battle on the TV and then just to watch SmackDown on my laptop, and then Danhausen returned.
Oh,
And
that's right.
and I
Yes.
mentioned it to my editor, and he's like, "Oh, that's newsworthy." And then I was like, "Do you want me to just like cover if anything happens with Final Battle?" And he was like, "Sure." And so I ended up being able to cover it several stories for that. And so, but because I was writing, I ended up missing chunks of matches and things like that. So I have to go back. But overall, the show was incredible. It was really great. It reminds me, the one thing I love about them is the pay-per-views are so good, and but the thing that annoys me is like TV could be this good, ROH TV could be this good, and I know that it can be. And once again, it does not fall on the talent. The talent is there. It's just the booking and the time given to them, which I've been
And the amount of
saying
money they're bringing in because
right.
they're behind the paywall.
Right. And so I've been saying this for 3 years now. The talent is there. I'm glad it exists because people need a place to work.
Yes.
And it's not just the talent, it's, everything, catering, makeup, hair, cameras, lighting, all of that.
Everyone. Music.
And there's few wrestling jobs that involve TV. And so I hope that I don't want it to go away. I know some people say that it should just be the library, which I firmly disagree with. I just think that more attention needs to be paid to it. And it's the same drama I've been banging for a long time. But regardless, the pay-per-view was great. I'm glad they came back to Hammerstein. On the media call, he was asked about it on the media call, and then he was asked again about it in the scrum following the show. It sounds like they're going to try to run Hammerstein more regularly, and that there's a potential, depending on how these shows work out. So last night Collision was live from the same venue. They're filming Dynamite on 34th Street. They're filming today. So it will air obviously on Christmas. And so he heavily hinted that this might become an annual thing where they do Final Battle, Collision. They're also doing ROH tapings, of course, before and after Collision last night, and then filming the Christmas Dynamite. That they may just keep doing this. That if everything goes well, I guess this weekend, it sounds like this is going to be an annual thing for them, which I think could be really cool if there's like a destination type place for them. Especially here where that has so much history. And it was interesting. I didn't know until the media call on Tuesday, but Tony had said this was his first time ever in that venue. He'd never been there before. And he said as a fan, he had, of course he'd always wanted to go to Hammerstein, but he just had never been there before. And so his first time being there would be for Final Battle. And so he was really looking forward to it. And then after Final Battle, he was talking about how great it was and how like he was glad he finally checked that off his list as a wrestling fan, and then is able to bring ROH back and run these other shows there as well. So that remains. I could see that happening next year. Oh no. Brad says he said it was a lot of fun. Kathy was up early that day at 5:30 for school, and so she wasn't feeling the first couple matches. Understandable. Totally surprisingly, she got her second win when Jarrett came out, and she loves seeing him. Commander winning sent her over the edge. She loves him. Billie losing was not good for her. Bless her. She was crying, which she hasn't done in a while, but once again, it was also a long day for her.
Yeah, she was pretty fried.
yeah, overall, it was a really, really good show, and live, and the venue was awesome. I'm really glad to hear that, other than obviously poor Kathy being upset. But I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that
That's a long day.
experience.
That's a long day for me as a grown up. I totally get it.
That is a very long day. And then to have that, but I'm glad she got the moment with that match with Commander was so good. It was the TV title match. He and Blake Christian really surprised me. I haven't seen Blake wrestle like that in a while, it seems like. And they just really showed out, and it was a back and forth. Literally, crowd was on their feet, super behind Commander. Love chanting F you, Blake. I think there's some GCW fans in that building. So there was, but it was really cool. And then Commander, I don't know if you've seen the video. There's video of Commander immediately after he won, and he just drops to his knees and starts crying, and he just keeps thanking Tony over and over, and it's just a really nice moment to get to see. And then Commander, they were doing in the media scrum, he was Jose the assistant was not Jose the assistant, I'm sorry, Alex Abrahantes was translating for him, and Commander said that he was born premature and nearly died twice, and so he feels like he always has to fight for everything he gets, and for being here, and to just be here. And so I think you could see that in the match, but in that, hearing that and then going and then seeing the moment with Tony Khan really puts that into perspective into why he got so emotional. I mean, I'm sure there's other reasons why, but just hearing that and then watching and then seeing what we saw afterwards, was really incredible. And I'm so happy for Commander. I really, really enjoy his work. I've become a huge fan of his. He has really stepped in for Juice Robinson in this tournament. He's mathematically eliminated from the C2, and we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But he has definitely stepped up. He finished the same way that Juice did. Juice was going to score 0 points. And so people were like really mad when Commander got put in there, like should have been Buddy Murphy, but then you would have been mad when Buddy Murphy got 0 wins. Y'all would have been pissed and be like, I can't book him. So I was like, Juice was not gonna. Juice maybe was gonna get. When he was originally announced, I was hoping Juice would maybe get 6 points out of it. Maybe he'd win 2 matches at most. And obviously they had to plug Commander in, but Commander is getting the same matches that Juice would have gotten.
Right.
He's got the same.
Yeah.
He was not going to score any points there. And I'm, of course, very disappointed that my tribal chief has not been able to score any points, even though he took Okada to the limit in a really great match. But I knew that, I was hoping Mortos would get, the same thing, maybe 6 points, maybe he'd win a couple matches. He hasn't, but he's put on incredible matches, which I think is kind of the point. It's obviously the point is to win and get the title, but it's also to showcase what these people can do, which is why I was really hoping that Juice, obviously pre-injury, that Juice was going to get to show people. I think people forget how good Juice is because he's associated with Jay, even though my editor pointed out, he's like, well, he and Jay had that really incredible match against FTR in Collision this year, which that match was. And he's like, I think he reminded people then, which I agree with, but it's been a while since we've seen singles Juice, and Juice can really turn it on when he gets the opportunity. So I hope he will. I don't know what his recovery time is like post surgery, but hopefully whenever he gets back, he gets to remind people how good he can really be.
He was doing those G1s before he got hurt in San Francisco, and he was really, yep. And I mean, it just sucks. He's been bit by the injury bug, as they say in the biz, and it's annoying because when he is wrestling, he is so good.
Yeah,
he was in G1s regularly.
Yeah, and he was even when he was, and I think people forget he's also a very good promo. Wow, he's really fun. But when he was IWGP US champion and he was just cutting incredible promos, and Kevin Owens has said that Juice is the best promo in the business, and I was like, and that's high praise coming from somebody like Kevin Owens, who is incredible at them. But Juice, I obviously am a huge fan of his, and that's I've always been. But yeah, I hope that he gets to come back and really show what he can do, because and they can really start utilizing him. And it kind of there's been question about how people how AEW has booked Jay White, which there's some valid criticisms there, but I think you could also make similar criticisms for Juice. But I think maybe some people aren't as familiar with Juice as maybe they are with Switchblade. And so maybe that's some of it. But Jay and Juice also have undeniable chemistry. And they're so good together. And they play so well off of each other on the mic and in the ring that you almost like, I understand using them as a tag team and doing that type of thing. So hopefully we'll see where that goes. But I am glad that Jay White is actually getting some better storylines, it seems like lately. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go. Thank you. This is best holiday gift ever, Power Bombshells. We appreciate that. Thank you. And I saw that tweet from her mom as well. So Billie Starkz' gear that she wore. Some people thought it was an homage to Sumi Sakai, and it turns out it was actually Sumi Sakai's gear that she wore when she. I believe it's Brad will probably remind me that. Oh yeah, actually it says it right here at the end of the comment that per Billie's mom on Twitter, her new gear was not delivered thanks to UPS, which also means she didn't get to do whatever entrance she had planned. So she wore Sumi Sakai's actual gear when Sumi became ROH Women's Champion, which was really cool. She dedicated her match on Twitter the day before. She dedicated her match to Sumi. And some people are wondering, which I am as well, because Sumi Sakai is having her final match at Battle in the Valley next year. And they are doing the 6-person match. And she wanted to wrestle Haramu. And Haramu was like, why don't we make this a 6-person mixed tag match or mixed trios match? And he's like, I'll find some partners. And you'll find some partners. And so some are wondering if Billie will be in Sumi's corner because of obviously all of this, and they have a friendship and things like that. If she'll be by her side, which would be really cool. And then Haramu is bringing in for him. He's bringing in Mayu Iwatani and Yuka Sakazaki will be his team. So,
is that all?
Okay. Oh, Brad said today's New Japan answered who Sumi's partners are. Will you please tell the class, because I have missed it. The only thing that I saw about the New Japan show is that ELP is back. He beat cancer and he is back.
Nice.
And he is wrestling his first match tomorrow, and he's been added to the TV title match at Wrestle Kingdom. So it is now a 4-way match, and ELP is involved. And yes, very exciting. So that's the only thing I've seen from today's show, which is very exciting. So we will wait for our comments sometimes run a little slow. So we will wait for the answer to find out who Sumi's partner is.
Plus, it's in the middle of an ad. So,
that is also true. Sorry about that. We don't control the ads. They just pop up.
And I leave them playing because,
Wait,
shame.
why? Is he for? He can't. That can't be
Evil
real, right?
told Hiromu that he and I believe it was Sho will be her partners.
No, I don't. No, please don't make those. Why are we having House of Torture involved with this?
Really?
Why is House of Torture involved in this? We don't need any of this. House of Torture is already going to be. Speaking of them, they challenged a video aired during Final Battle, and they challenged Sons of Texas, which is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, for their tag titles. And that match they accepted after the show in their post-match comments, and that match is official for Wrestle Dynasty.
Right. Oh,
so
okay.
It'll be Sho and Kanemaru will be wrestling for the ROH tag titles.
Interesting.
Yes. So that'll be
interesting. Okay, that's an okay matchup, though. I mean, it won't totally.
Yeah,
suck.
I think it'll be a solid match. Like, and at least obviously he's the heel, but I like Kanemaru, so
yeah, me too. I don't
I think the 4 of them can put on a good. They should put on a pretty solid match. And
proper heels. So
yeah, right. But yeah, so Final Battle was before we got into Final Battle. We weren't sure who was headlining the show. We know who should headline the show. The match that's been a year in the making. However, Jericho is the Nueve. He's calling himself the King of New York. Some of this stuff has made me laugh, though, because he's obviously trying to piss people off. And he said, like, he got the best pizza in New York City at Sbarro's.
Oh,
which was really funny. And he made a couple other comments that were really funny. And like he called, like during Collision last night, he said the wrong mayor obviously on purpose, but he said the wrong mayor, and just so obviously he knows what he's doing, and obviously I have my feelings about Jericho and about this version of Jericho. However, at least I've got a few funny quips here and there. So he wrestled Matt Cardona, which obviously is probably due to the situation that happened with GCW a couple weekends prior.
Right.
And so during the media call, my question was actually, it was very similar to my question. The person before me asked what I was going to ask, which is, my question was going to be, why is Jericho main eventing over Athena? But his was, why is Jericho and Cardona? Why did you make this the main event? I don't think he probably meant it in the way that I would have meant it, but maybe he did. And so he just really put over Jericho and Cardona, and how Cardona he's been willing to work with again. He really stepped up when they called him to answer the Cope Open with Adam Copeland, and like how that played out. He said he's really nice and he enjoys working with him. He's a professional. He also, he's familiar, he's been on TV before, he knew how to do all that. And then he was like, well, should he, because somebody asked like what would happen. So what if Matt Cardona wins the ROH championship? Like, is he going to take it to GCW? And he was like, well, he has a lot of indie dates. He's all over the place. He wrestles for multiple companies. So he was like heavily, I know he was promoting the match, but he was leaning into it so hard that it almost made me think that Cardona was going to win, just the way he was leaning into it to promote it. And then, but he announced, like, before the question, like before he answered the rest of the question, he said, oh, this is a double main event. And I was like,
oh, the dreaded.
Here we go again.
The dreaded double main event.
Especially when it comes to Athena. Double main event.
Every time.
Kidding me. And so,
which tells me that he knows she should be the main event as much as anybody else. The fact that you're doing this dance every time shows me that you know as well as
you think that you can't, and it also shows me that you think you can't sell a pay-per-view with her. And so that you're using Jericho, even though she has been that brand has been built around her for 2 years now. She has carried your show. People subscribe to watch her because that's the only place they can see her unless she's doing indie shows. But then I had heard, following the call, I had heard from someone that Athena and Billie would actually be the main. They were going to announce it on Thursday during the show. Well, then it turns out actually, I take that back. Billie tweeted later that night and said that she could officially announce that she's headlining or she's main eventing Hammerstein. And then I was like, well, she could technically say that as a double main. So I wasn't sure if she was confirming what I had heard. But then the next day, Athena said during an interview that they would be main eventing and they would be making history as far as she knows, the first 2 women to have ever main evented that venue, definitely for ROH for sure. So Athena just continues to make history. And so luckily it even though it was still billed as a double main event, it went on last as it should, because it is a rematch of Final Battle's main event from last year, which was Athena versus Billie Starkz. We thought Billie was going to win last year, but it was to set up the match this year. It was Billie not quite being able to beat her mentor yet. She has she obviously ended up being the inaugural women's TV champion. She lost it on her first title defense. And then Athena was disappointed in her and was just mean to her after she lost the belt. She was just really just belittling her and wouldn't treat her. She was just always, making comments and things like that. And then it finally boiled over to the point where Billie had enough, and she turned on Athena. But then Athena was not taking her seriously. She was like, oh, she's just saying things. And then she was like, oh, so you're going to lay down for me. That's a great idea. You'll lay down for me and that'll be it. We'll celebrate and we'll do all this. And Billie was like, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. And then on the go home show, they were in a tag match together. And afterwards, Billie ripped off Athena because Athena's been carrying a spinner belt that was a gift from her husband, but they've been saying it's a gift from Lexi Neer, but Athena's the one who tweeted that her husband bought her got her the customized spinner belt. And so Billie ripped off the spinner attachment, and then they brawled, and then Athena finally took her seriously, and they had a really great match. But in a surprise to pretty much everyone, Athena retained. And Billie was literally left crying in the middle of the ring as they celebrated. And so it was quite a moment to see. I was convinced that Billie was going to win. Like, this is the whole point of the story. She overcomes her mentor. The student becomes the teacher. Like, that's where we're going here. Athena has wrestled literally everybody but the men. If Tony believed in intergender wrestling, then sure, I can see her staying down there and wrestling a bunch of the men because she has gone through the entire women's division. But that's not what we're doing here. However, when she won, the only thing I assumed was, okay, well, she's the week prior, she won the spot to represent ROH in the International Women's Cup at Wrestle Dynasty. So it's like, okay, I guess they want her going into Tokyo Dome as a champion. This has been her dream. Athena has been talking for 2 years at least. I mean, longer than that, but definitely the last 2 years in media scrums and interviews, how much she wants to go to Japan. And she flat out told Tony in a scrum, she looked at him, she said, if you're not going to send me to Japan, then bring Joshi wrestlers to me. And he did that a little bit. And then it kind of, didn't work out, or they were wrestling, obviously.
They're wrestling on Dynamite, not on ROH.
Right, exactly. So
where Athena should probably be too.
Right. So then during the press conference, Athena said something that made me wonder if this is another reason they kept the title on her. She said she would be sticking around for a little bit after Wrestle Dynasty. I don't know if she meant that as in she will be sightseeing, or if she's going on excursion finally. If Tony has finally letting her do what she's been asking for. Is she showing up in Stardom? Is she showing up at other places? So perhaps she's going to be in Japan because she just left it as a little while. So who knows if that means a few days to sightsee, or if she is going to be doing something. So if she's going on excursion, then yes, it would make sense for her to carry that title. But then then the question becomes, well, then why did Billie wrestle her at Final Battle? Why wasn't it somebody else? And why didn't you save Billie for Supercard or whenever? Because if I remember correctly, on ROH TV, which is Honor Club, no titles have ever changed hands. It's either at ROH pay-per-views or it's on AEW programming and their pay-per-views. So unless they have Athena lose on a random Thursday night, and also I keep forgetting, episode 100 is coming up. I think I had the exact date a few weeks ago when I did the math. So it's like mid-January will be episode 100 of ROH. So that may be another reason they're keeping the title on her. But then again, why have her wrestle Billie? Have her wrestle somebody else. Bring in a Joshi wrestler for her there for her to defeat, and then go into Japan. Like that would have, I don't know. I mean, I guess it just obviously we'll see how the story plays out. I do know that the Boxing Day episode of ROH is on Thursday, and she mentioned in the scrum that Boxing Day was a perfect day to have an expulsion of somebody from MIT. Well, the 3 members of MIT are Athena, Billie, and Lexi. And so I do know that they filmed that segment last night prior to Collision. Based on the comment, I think I know who was kicked out, but I didn't look too far into it because
you don't want to be
I just want to see it on Thursday.
Right.
And like I said, there's 2 members, so it's a 50-50 chance of what's going to happen. But yeah, so the match was great. I don't know where Billie goes from here. I don't know where Athena goes. Like, unless if she's on an excursion, obviously wrestling other women, I can see that. But as far as ROH goes, like, there's literally no one else for her to wrestle. She has wrestled everybody. Some of those people she's wrestled multiple times. So unless they're bringing down people from the main roster from AEW to wrestle her, then I don't know what they're doing. And so as far as Athena goes, I will watch, whatever she does, but I don't know where the booking is going with this, which can just continues to go with there's a lot of booking issues in ROH, and we saw it. And a lot of people were really upset about it. And then because that was the second time that they had a star making moment with Billie. And if you don't do it then it starts losing any significance when she does finally beat her. Or
Right.
I jokingly said, is Athena just going to retire as champion? Like that's what Asuka did to her. Asuka did that to Ember Moon. She held that title for over 500 days. And then instead of dropping it to Ember Moon, she just went to the main roster. And I would hope that Athena would be like, this happened to me and it didn't work out great. I don't want to do that to another woman. Hopefully that's not how it's going to play out, but it has crossed my mind, even though I meant it in a joking manner at first. But then people reminded me that, that happened to Ember Moon. And so I hope that's not what happens here.
Yeah. I mean, you know a lot about this, so I think that because I'm not watching as closely as
right.
you. It's the one thing about Athena that drives me nuts is that, I mean, I know there's a lot going on in the women's division, but like all the things she's asking for are on AEW right now.
Right.
And I still say the women's division is stronger than the men's division right now on AEW TV. I'm more into,
they're getting less time still.
I was excited when I saw what was 26 minutes on the main event. Is not
that the 26 minutes in the main event, that was the New Japan show. That was Strong Style Evolved. Mercedes Moné and Hazuki got 26 and a half minutes. And
I was like, wow,
incredible match that should have been 5 stars, Dave.
That's really great. I mean, it's not an hour, it's not 45 minutes, but that's a good chunk of time.
Maybe
they were an almost 30-minute match for women.
I thought maybe they were gonna go the half hour, but then I was like, I don't know what else they could do to make it 3.5 more minutes, because the match was incredible. To me, that was Mercedes' best match since her match with Stephanie. The match was incredible.
I need to check that out. I know there's
it's on World. The show was on World for free, and I was like, oh, so I checked it out. And the whole show was really great. There's a few matches I missed because I just didn't really care about the people involved. So I was like, oh, I'll go eat dinner or clean up because I don't need to see Gabe Kidd.
I'm doing my catch up. They put together a awesome thing on there, and I was hoping for it because I was going to go look for the matches, but it turns out that right on New Japan they have a Wrestle Kingdom 19 series, and it's all the matches that led us to where we are, which was what I was going to do. I knew sort of which things I had to watch, but it's awesome because it's got them bookmarked right in there because the way their new thing is set up, that actually is convenient once you figure it out. I was like, oh, they have like all 7 right here. And so I've been watching through them and getting caught up on like the whole storyline and everything.
Oh, good.
I was like, this is so great. Thank you, New Japan.
I agree. I disagree with you. If you're gonna call it the best women's match on US soil, you give it 5 fucking stars. There's no reason to duck. I know these other matches that all those matches deserve 5 stars, and he's wrong about those. But if you are literally gonna call Mercedes versus Hazuki the best match on US soil and then give it 4.75 stars, I don't care about star ratings. But if you're going to say if you're going to say this is the best match you've ever seen on women's soil, give it the 5 stars it deserves.
It's so Dave being Dave.
And some people called it. People are like, this is so funny because he's going to rank it 4 points and he's going to give it 4.75 stars. And that's exactly what he did.
There's all this, like, what I did see a little of was this like conversation about people carrying other people. And it's like, but then the other people were like, no, it's too It's like, oh my God.
I don't,
all
star ratings don't matter. Don't necessarily.
But I mean, that's to me, when he does stuff like that, especially with women, it comes off more as trying to stir up controversy than actually like using the thing. And then you are starting to make people ask, like, what's the point? So I just,
I mean,
I don't know.
I've
I
always
don't
said
get
that's the point, but
unfollowing
yeah, I
Dave
get
on
it.
Twitter was like the best thing I did for my mental health because he only really responds to trolls. And
Yeah, I don't follow him. I see him come up in my timeline, and I actually saw from other people that Wrestle Purist came up, and I saw from other people about that. But I agree that those other matches should have gotten 5 stars. So all of them should have.
it just
but
seems like you're being obtuse a little bit when you're
well,
doing
and it feels like
I
there's
mean, I don't know how else to put it.
no, it is, and it feels like he has an issue with
Really,
well,
really,
he
you
feels like he has an issue with
couldn't
Mercedes.
cough up the fit like that last quarter. The Fed
Yeah.
raised interest rates 3 times this year. You couldn't cough up that extra quarter.
I mean, if you can go over and break your 5-star record to give Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada 7 stars, which they rightfully deserve, but if you can break your own rankings in order to do that, then I mean, maybe this is his gimmick at this point. He's never going to give a women's match
well, that's
5
what I was
stars.
thinking. It's
But
like
it also
internal
comes off as
genitalia negative 25.
right. It comes off as that he doesn't like women's wrestling and that he has an issue with Mercedes.
He loves it. But
an
Sam, he
argument that
loves
people
it.
have.
He totally supported it in the 90s.
Yeah, but not American wrestling, but Japanese wrestling.
No, he knows all about women's wrestling. Okay. Internal
sure does.
genitalia negative 0.25.
He's like, wait, I almost gave this 5 stars, but these have women in it. Hold on a minute.
Hold on.
Gotta
There's
deduct
boobs and vaginas involved.
Can't have that.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, so there we go. So that's
Yeah,
what's happening.
So we've had our say about that. I guess.
That's what's happening over in ROH. I'm glad that Athena and Billie got to main event. It'll be really interesting to see what happens, where they go from here, how we get to Athena versus Mercedes, because that's happening. Red Velvet also called out Mercedes in the he also called out Mercedes in the or she called out Mercedes in the scrum. So and if we're doing belt collector Mercedes, I would not surprise me if she gets some ROH titles. There's 2 of them she could take if that's what they're doing.
Right.
There are 2 of those. She's already cut, she has the title match at Wrestle Dynasty against Mina Shirakawa she's putting up her strong title against the Rev Pro title that Mina retained yesterday against Dani Luna. So that would be 3 different belts in 3 different companies. So she could potentially take some ROH titles. And then but then again, where does that leave if that happens and she takes Athena's women's championship? Then that also leaves the question of then where does that leave Billie? Where does that leave the other women? Because then you're doing Asuka and Charlotte with Mercedes and
well, it really sucks because
Athena.
they've done such a good job with the Billie Athena, the group story, like the whole thing, and it would really suck to sort of like let it peter out instead of actually give it a good like solid finish. Like,
yeah, I hope that they do get the good solid finish at Supercard. Then Athena goes to the main roster and she starts her feud with Mercedes.
Yeah,
they've been planting the seeds for the TBS championship, especially because All In is in her home state of Texas. That would be a great place for Athena to win that title.
Yeah, that does time out pretty well. You're right.
It would also be a great place for the women to main event an AEW pay-per-view in year 6, where a woman has never main evented a pay-per-view that all other companies have. TNA has done it multiple times. ROH has done it.
Even WWE's done it, guys.
They do it multiple times. They're the only major company in the US.
In your women's division,
women.
Definitely good enough.
Yes. And Mercedes has main evented WrestleMania on top of that. So not only have they never had a Blood and Guts match, they've never had a Continental Classic. They haven't had a tournament since the one that Sheeta basically did that she put together herself. That was back in like
and there's the tournament that's going on that's not even it's like a New Japan tournament, right? That the women are in.
Stardom is doing a tournament.
Okay,
well, Stardom. The International Women's Cup. Yes, Women's Cup. It is. So it's
aren't they rotating some of the
Athena
talent in and out of that?
No, that's not no, the tournament.
Oh, okay.
No. The International Women's Tournament, they
Okay.
each had their own matches to determine the entrant. So AEW's was Willow,
Got
Athena
it.
is representing ROH, Persephone is representing CMLL, and then I think if I remember right, Momo Watanabe, if I'm sure Vinken or Brad will tell me, I believe that I saw that Momo will be the Stardom representative. Yes, it is. Okay, thank you for confirming. So yes, and then the winner, so they all will compete. Then the winner of that match gets to choose any title they want
Ooh.
to get a title shot for. So some people thought maybe this is how they would get to Athena versus Mercedes, but I don't think New Japan and CMLL want to be involved in an AEW storyline. That
Yeah.
sets up an AEW. I feel like this is
I
going to set up something else.
especially CMLL.
It's probably going to set up a match for Forbidden Door, is my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I think will happen. And so so that's the match there. And then Mina and Mercedes is also at Wrestle Dynasty as well. So that should be really, because Mina she wrestled in the first match on the New Japan show last week. And then so New Japan strong bookended with women. They kicked off with Mina and they ended with Mercedes, and then it ended with Mina challenging Mercedes, and then they had a dance off in the ring.
Cool.
So
as you do.
got that. Yes. And so so that's where we are with that. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to Wrestle Dynasty. And then speaking of Wrestle Dynasty, well, actually it's Wrestle Kingdom. We know that Kenny Omega is returning to the ring at Wrestle Kingdom to wrestle, of all people, Gabe Kidd.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, that's the thing that's happening. It's his first match back in like 18 months. I think it's been like 400. I think somebody said by the time he gets back and the wrestles to that match, it'll be like 470 something days, and that's his opponent. So that's happening. However, last week on Dynamite, they did air a vignette of sorts, little promo teaser of Kenny Omega coming back to AEW. And there have been some rumors on where he will return. The theory that I have seen is that he is returning at World's End on Saturday. So he will technically be in an AEW ring before he goes and competes in New Japan. For some of the people who are really upset about that, some people are big mad that Kenny Omega
big mad
that his return matches at a new show that is being established between New Japan and AEW and ROH and CMLL and Stardom, which makes perfect sense for Kenny to return there. But apparently for some people that is unacceptable. So he's coming to AEW. I feel like the plan was always for him to come back to AEW before that, but maybe because people got mad enough about it, they're like, can you please come to World's End? So these people, I mean, it won't be an actual match. So I guess that's going to be their little caveat. I'm like, well, he's there, but he's not wrestling, so it doesn't count, which I'm sure that's coming.
He's gonna I agree with the sentiment that I think it was even Jim said it was that he's gonna he's gonna debut like 5 different times. He's gonna debut on Dynamite. He's gonna debut on a pay-per-view. Like he'll be on AEW so much. Like they're already talking about the rapid, like they still have a storyline with the fact that they ended the Elite and kicked them out, and Hangman is keeping with that. Kenny's keeping with that. Those seeds are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys have been doing this for a ridiculously long time. So
they also have at the New Japan Strong show last week, the Young Bucks came out after Jack Perry's match. And Jack was pissed. He's like, where have you been? He was like, I got tied to the hood of a van. I lost my title. And they're like, oh, we've been working at home, have to take care of the kids. We've been stay-at-home dads. You know, you did really great. I'm sorry you lost your title, but we're still cool, right? And Jack was like, sure, we are, which seems to go into the theory that we have had that he's going to abandon them and join the Death Riders, which seems to be where we're going. And then you have Kenny back in the mix. I feel like my guess is that Kenny comes back at World's End to stare down John Moxley.
Placate
John-
the masses and stare down John
well,
Moxley.
that too. I feel like he's coming. He's going to stare down John Moxley after John Moxley retains the title in the 4-way match.
That'd be cool anyway.
And that's how they close the show, is Kenny and Mox staring each other down.
That's cool because the spinoff for that into the 2-3 days of, I mean, obviously 2 days where you have, you know, Wrestle Kingdom and then Wrestle Dynasty, like those 2 days. And again, like you said, then there's the first where I forgot about the Fight for the Fallen thing. And I actually, that's really smart. I give them, I mean, you know, credit where credit's due. That's a really good idea because Fight for the Fallen is one of their good shows. It's like a fundraising for, like, you know, gun rights, like anti,
and he can be in North Carolina
and stuff. And they're testing it without testing it with a pay-per-view, which I find to be really smart.
Right. That's true.
I was like, when I heard that, I was like, that is so good. That is such a good idea because then you're not. It's a big show. People are still going to watch it. It will still get its contributions because of what it means and how they'll sell it online. And Amanda will be, Huber, I'm sure, will be alive and like all ablaze on socials. And I love that they do that much for charity. And
me too.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So I you know, but I like that they're not gonna like try and run Wrestle Dynasty on it or Full Gear or Revolution or something until they've done a beta test.
Yeah, and he's
gamers would call it.
And Tony said at the full, I guess it would have been the Full Gear media call. Somebody asked about pay-per-views, and he's like, it's going to be a little bit before they're on Max. He's like, they've got a lot of work to do. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize. Like it's
they
not
don't have the infrastructure of the NFL. The NFL goes out like worldwide. That takes.
Right.
How many years has it taken the NFL to build up the infrastructure where they can do a global thingy? And then even the platforms that they're working with, the only reason places like Amazon and stuff can do that is because they've got the servers and they've done that kind of work for other media companies, for like newspapers. And so it's going to be, I think that's smart. But.
Yeah, I think it is too. I feel like it'll come probably. This is what I saw. That's just my guess, is that they will wait.
It's Sam's fault. Tell her it's Sam's fault, Brad.
It is my fault. I'm the one who's I am
Sam
actually
and Nikki's fault.
If we're gonna be literal, it is actually Sister Hazel's fault because it happened when I was on. I got it when I was on the Rock Boat, which is a music cruise that Sister Hazel started 20 something years ago, and one of the rooms on the cruise ship was called the Dynasty, and they were calling it the Dynasty, and so that's what I've always called it since then we had, to remind everybody, when they announced the Dynasty pay-per-view that AEW has, Claudio also called it the Dynasty. So it's Claudio approved to call it.
I got Garrett to say it on air. So
Perfect. It is Dynasty.
But Kathy is correct, and she is a smart young lady.
She is very smart. We appreciate she is. Keep Mel in line over there.
You keep me in line. You keep correcting people's grammar. That's my wheelhouse, girl. You go. Is it like
we also Kathy and I also share a disdain for Billie Dixon. So I mean, not Billie Dixon. I'm sorry, for Darius Carter.
Oh,
so we both have we both do not like. I take that back. I did not mean to say Billie Dixon. I was thinking of him. Billie Dixon is great. I enjoy him very much. It is Darius Carter who I dislike, have disdain for. Brad said, "Hey, let's how Chris Charlton and the other Brits say it as Dynasty.
They say it Dynasty, yes,
or Dynasty. I'm sorry,
that's actually true. I know that's true. I obviously I don't. He's not, but my Irish friend, because like we spell like words like honor and color and favorite wrong.
Yes,
and. He calls our degrees like freedom degrees and things like that. So we joke about the dynasty and things. Those are my favorite like moments with something, is when you use it. I like to say arse quite a bit. I mean, I also have to remind myself that I live in a country where the CUNT word is not as commonly used as it is in Daza and John's countries, like as a, because they throw that around like the F word. And
I'm sure they do.
When it's all of us hanging out together, we have dropped it, and it's like, oh dear, I got to remember that I'm not hanging out with my Euros right now. Because some people in this country, when they hear that word, are like, and it's like, oh, I didn't mean like see you next Tuesday.
It is a word
like
that is not a word that is in my vocabulary because of the like that's
because of the American, the way that we.
But I know that it's a very obviously it's just
it's a swear. It's a normal swear.
Right,
like
exactly.
Curse words, so normal.
Right.
It's so horrible. It's like,
but that's like part of the reason it's like it's never been in my vocabulary because of that. And so, and it's still like I just because I've just never used it. I probably have used it, but it's not something as common. Like,
no, but if you're going to use
I use the F word a lot. That is my favorite word.
If you drop one of those, you're meaning it. That's the point.
Right. Exactly. If it comes out, it has meaning behind it. It's
exactly.
It's not just another word.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. It's hilarious though, but that's our cultural diverse moment of dynasty, and dynasty.
Yes. So yes, AEW Dynasty is that's the April show, I believe now, because Revolution
is that gonna switch after this year to April?
Well, it was April this year, wasn't it? Because they do Revolution in March, and then I think when Dynasty its debut, I think was April. I think that's the April show. I believe.
So they'll do one now and then one in is that no
one's just Wrestle Dynasty is that one, and then AEW has just AEW Dynasty, which is the one in February. And when it was announced that
that's the Australia one, right?
No, that's Grand Slam Australia. Dynasty was the April pay-per-view this year. That was and my friend, when they announced Wrestle Dynasty, my friend was like, he just likes using the word dynasty because he has now 2 pay-per-views that that use that word. And he was like, he just put wrestle in front of it. So there's AEW. I wonder if they will end up changing the name of it so people don't get it confused, but if it'll just stay dynasty. But or maybe
I know they've been filing copyrights for things. So they've filed a bunch of like a handful of like a whole laundry list, almost like an old school Jericho list of
Tony Khan says that you have made the list whenever he's copywriting something, trademarking something.
I'm sorry, the lexicon. It's AEW. He can't use the list anymore. He has to use the lexicon.
Use lexicon. Sounds like something Jericho would actually. I'm surprised Jericho doesn't use that in his learning tree.
Now I know that he
probably will now.
Oh my god. He's like searching, and he's like clout searching right now, and he like heard me say that, and he's like, I'm gonna bring that back.
He
Can
probably
you at least stop, like, and subscribe, bro.
I feel like please do that. I feel like he has actually mentioned lexicon before in one of those promos, but
way back when he was first doing his thing, remember he had to do the lexicon thing because he wasn't allowed to use the list because that was an WWE thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he used lexicon instead.
Yes. I forgot
and
about
it drove
that.
Brian and Dave completely insane because, oh my god, that was a dumb argument that they had over that one.
Well, because lexicon doesn't mean list; they don't mean the same thing.
Exactly.
You
basically nailed it.
And this is
it was one of their ultra semantic, silly debate moments.
Well, it does. It does. I mean, they're right. It doesn't mean that. That's not what lexicon means.
But
and also,
they did it. They talked about it the way that they talk about it, and so there was.
I can imagine.
It was melting Brian's brain. So
Chris Jericho has a degree in broadcast journalism. I know that because I've read his books. So he should know better.
Isn't that funny? That guy is something else, though. I mean. That's why they keep doing it. That's why they keep going back to the well with them. At least he was plugging the freaking network.
He did do that, but then last night God.
I know.
So they
I
did
heard
this
that
stuff.
people
I
were
don't
cheering
mind. I
please
don't mind that
retire.
they
I don't
did. I
know
don't
if
mind the
they're just
Costco guys stuff. They brought them in, but it seems like they're setting up a feud with Jericho and Bowens, and so they finally get Bowens away from.
okay, good.
Maybe they haven't officially gone their separate ways, but there's been some tension since their last match. They're not speaking to each other. Last night, Jericho made a reference to the Acclaimed, and Bowens was the only one who came out, even though they were. And he tried to get Jericho to come in the ring, and Jericho wouldn't. So it seems to be that they're setting up a feud, and so I guess that's going to be Bowens' first singles feud, which I'm not thrilled about. But maybe he handpicked him, like he handpicked Action Andretti and some other people. So we'll see. I'm sure it's not like Anthony Bowens can't pull a good match out of Jericho. So, or at least as good as we can get of Jericho at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
I would rather, if we're gonna have him feud, I'd rather him feud with Brian Keith, because at least Brian Keith would get some good matches and wouldn't just be standing there yelling out funny things.
Being the
I mean,
best
he
part
did
of
have
that
the
entire
he did
gimmick.
have the good match with Mortos though.
Although Big Bill is still
Rampage.
pretty cool. When he
Yeah, Big
actually
Bill was
wrestles.
getting chants last night like he was in the UK again. They were chanting for him instead of Jericho.
Well,
Which good for Big Bill.
Yeah.
Who also, congratulations to him. Him and Lexi Nair got married last weekend. And
oh,
so
hey.
unfortunately, it was sad that it was great, but I felt bad because Athena and Billie could not be there because they had to wrestle, and they taped the tournament match, and so they did not get to go. But Julia Hart was there, and so was it Sky Blue? Is that who I saw in the picture? DDP was there. I saw him in the picture too. So good for them.
Nice.
Congratulations to them. I wasn't sure if they'd be back at Friday because I was like, well, maybe they're on their honeymoon, but I was like, I guess Lexi is not missing a title match with Athena.
Nobody does that anymore. Nobody takes their honeymoon like right away.
No, that's true.
It seems
That
like
is true.
none of us ever have the money, it seems like. So we all take our honeymoon like in April next year or something. It's like,
it's all right.
or whenever.
Maybe they'll just maybe they'll go to Australia early. And
there you go.
Hang out there.
Work.
Yes.
Show must go on.
Of course.
All right, let's see. I think that's good.
I think that's everything because we're still trying to be, hopefully now once we get past, we can start kind of do it. We will be here Saturday for our pre show at 1 o'clock Eastern, and those typically go longer. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully my voice can hold up to, especially because we have the surprise thing happening sometime this week that I'm not sure if we can mention yet.
Yeah.
And that will be a smaller thing. Like I think we're doing like and actually I don't even know if that you and I are we on at the same time, or are they doing us separately?
I think that it's you and me and maybe some, but I mean it's going to be more of a roundtable thing. So
yeah,
I'll
so
double
it'll be
check
shorter.
my email, but
and then
just keep your eyes on all of the Fight Game Media socials and all of our socials, and we'll update you guys on what we're doing.
We'll see. And then once we get past the new year, we might be going back to our regular format, even though if you guys like the shorter formats, that is something that we can discuss if you prefer.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, or
we can do that just, and maybe things that we're flowing, we can change however we need to, and based on what you guys are into as well. And also I also have a other surprise appearance that I am recording at 4 o'clock. I don't know if I can say it yet. It'll be up I think in a few days.
Cool.
That is coming. I tried to when I was invited on, I'd not come back to this show yet, and I was like having to give them I was like, I don't know, depends. So I went for the furthest date possible for the furthest time possible. So I picked the last available time on the last available day to make sure. And they were saying that obviously if it didn't work out, we could try doing something next year. But luckily, hopefully it will work out. And I think it won't be, I don't think it'll be a very long thing, 15 to 30 minutes at most. So between all that, I'm hoping next Saturday.
I think I might ask Keela to jump on with us.
Yeah, I was gonna say we may bring in some guests, and it's fun doing, even without having to be careful with my voice. It's fun having other people.
I like having more than just us. Yeah. And I mean, you guys in the chat, obviously,
Of
you
course,
guys is
yes.
fun. But it is really fun to get other members of the Fight Game Media Network like that aren't necessarily like with Keela. She doesn't get to talk about AEW as much, so
Right.
it's fun for her to get to come on here and do it because she does watch everything.
Yeah.
But
Right.
she focuses on the rap and WWE, so it's fun to get that. And then I mean, or for someone like I don't know Jeff or whatever, because then they don't have to like they're doing the fun stuff. So
Right.
they don't have to.
And then like when we've had Josiah come on before, which has been
Yeah,
fun. And
I
so,
love having that.
yeah.
And
so
that's
sometimes
when this is the time of year that we can get him on because it's on Saturdays.
Yeah. So
Because when we pull our Sunday people that can't usually come.
Yes.
That's when
And
we
so
try
our
and pull
Saturday
them in.
people are here. But yeah, so we will definitely have our pre-show on Saturday at 1. So it'll be our normal time, just a day earlier. And then
sorry, my horn is going off, and I'm
That's
wondering if since it's
I can hear it a little bit. It's not super loud, but I can vaguely hear it. Especially
I
now
can't
that
figure out if this is going to be the super long one that they do once a month or what. It's like, get off the air, jerks.
Yeah. They're like, she has to stop talking. We're going to make her. So we're going to be really loud. Mel wasn't kidding when she said if we went over too far, she was going to stop me. So she's in cahoots with her town to make the siren go off.
You know what's scary about that is that I do know members of the volunteer fire department, and they actually like.
I knew it. I knew it.
I mean,
Mel
I don't think they could do that or anything because I wouldn't want them to get in trouble.
No,
but it is kind of funny because like the weird like it'd be like, wait, she does know members of the volunteer fire department. Maybe she is pulling the strings here. I'd be like, God, if only. If only I were Don
If
Callis.
that were the case, then Mel would make sure that it never went off during our show, except for right now.
If only I were Don Callis.
Except for when she's.
If only. I am not the invisible hand, people.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm not that. He's pretty funny. Start putting a scar. All right, let's get this party.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap this up because we're being silly. It was great having all of you guys in the chat. We totally appreciate the fact that you guys show up for us every week. It was great to have Brad back and Kathy correcting my grammar. Keep that up, kiddo. Good job, girl. You can still find us on Twitter, and then I'm on the Blue Sky. Sam's on the Blue Sky. We're not quitting Twitter per se, but we're also kind of on the. We'd love to shift and never have to deal with the hellscape.
I'm using it less and less, but a lot of my people that follow me for my work are still there.
And they're gonna be. And I think that some people will be entrenched just like they are with Facebook because people don't like change. It scares them.
So I'm trying to I am using Blue Sky a little bit more. And also another reason I have Twitter is because that's where my times are at.
Yep.
And so I'm still adding to my thread because that's where people see it. And people who, I guess, keep an eye on it from what I am told, that's where they see it.
That's
and
useful.
We'll see. Maybe it will migrate over to Blue Sky. Maybe it will migrate over to somewhere else like Substack or
that'd be cool.
Patreon or something like that. But I've kicked around several people have tried to get me to take it to Patreon.
That's an undertaking, folks.
It is. So maybe we'll see where that goes. But for now, it's staying on Twitter. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin. Same to you.
Yes, thank you. And same to all of you. Happy holidays, whether you celebrate. And if you don't celebrate, I hope that you have a wonderful Wednesday and Thursday.
I hope you have a wonderful airing of grievances.
Yes.
Enjoy
whatever it is that you are doing that day. Don't
happy
feel
Hanukkah.
like you have to conform to whatever it is. Do whatever makes you happy, as long as it's legal and is not harming yourself or anybody else.
Correct. And for those of you that are out there, I think this is really important. Hang out and hug and be present with your loved ones because you never know. And
absolutely.
Especially this time of year, some of us don't get to be with those people. We encourage you to be don't worry about the politics and the religion and the BS. Go to the people that are there for you, give them a hug, be present and be grateful for them, and screw the rest of it. You don't need that. Enjoy your Christmas and enjoy your people. Life is short.
Yes, so. I co-sign that.
All right. So you guys have great holidays. We will talk to you next weekend.
On Saturday.
Greatly appreciate you. On Saturday at 1.
Yes.
Saturday at 1, we will make sure and spam the crap out of you this week. Don't worry about it. We love
Yes.
doing that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest
Bye.
of your Sunday. Peace out.